Welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. Last time we sent our rocket to Minmus and landed there. Today we'll see if we can get it back. And here is Jebidiah on Minmus. Unfortunately, as it looks, we don't have enough fuel to get home. That means that Jebidiah is stranded for now. Due to these unfortunate events, a new, less risky mission was proposed. This time, we're going to do a flyby of the moon and return some science that will enable us to create a new rocket that will help us to save Jebidiah. We're going to upgrade our Enterprise ship, adding a little bit more fuel to make sure that it can go to the moon and return safely. As you can see, we've added one fuel tank and couple of solid rocket boosters on the sides. And the ship will be called the Enterprise Mark IV. Let's launch it. The weather is nominal. Everything is kinda stable, a bit wobbly, but that's fine. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. As you can notice, it is a pulse commentary, so some things might not be in sync. This rocket is kinda unstable because of the solid boosters. It prefers to spin wildly, but this will end as soon as solid rocket boosters are ran out. And they're out. This gives our rocket much needed stability and allows us to get into the space. And so our speed is rising slowly, so we can even throttle down a little bit, not to waste our fuel. And we're almost 10,000 meters, where we will start our gravity turn. And the gravity turn is starting now. So our ascent stage is done, and our orbital stage is working. Our apopsis is not yet high enough, so we have to burn a little bit more. synopsis is rising at 60,000. And soon we'll cut our thrust and close to the apophysis to circularize our orbit. And our apophysis is 80,000. Here we add a maneuver node, which will allow us to enter the stable Kerbal orbit. And here I'm going to derp around a little bit, trying to achieve more or less a circular orbit. Moving it back and forth, trying to get the most out of our burn. Pardon? And at first I decided that I'll do 2 burns. The first burn will get us most of our orbital speed, and the second burn will actually circularize the orbit. But then I decided against it and decided to do it all in 1 burn. So, burn is happening, the orbit is becoming more orbity. That is a scientific term for those who don't know. Totally used everywhere, even on ISS. Orbity. And just a tiny bit more, and we will be in a orbit. And done. We have 64 on 90 something orbit, and I decided to circularize it a little bit more, make it more orbity. So here I'm warping to the node, first looking for it on the nav ball, and then time warping. So here is our maneuver node, and because the only thing providing thrust right now is the capsule, our ship is a little bit hard to control. It's heavy and it only controls from the top, so it takes a couple seconds to find the node. And we're time warping. Totally missing our node by a long shot. Oh no. It doesn't really matter because the correction is very, very small. So, here we are creating our maneuver node that will get us into the lunar orbit. as with Minmus, we are doing a maneuver node approximately 90 degrees from the moon. So if our maneuver node at the bottom of the screen, the moon should be at the right side of the screen. And I'm not particularly happy with this encounter because we're going beyond the moon orbit and then returning back, so I'm moving it around a little bit to make sure that we captured before we actually cross the moon orbit. And success. Just tweaking it a little bit to get our lunar apoapsis around 50,000 kilometers. Or 50,000 meters. 50,000 kilometers would be too much. And it seems to be that this maneuver would be sufficient. So we're time warping again. And this time I'll miss my maneuver node by a long shot. Approximately 20-30 seconds. But as you will find out, it will not ruin our mission. Because the encounter window with the moon is kinda big. We still have some window of opportunity. Even if we miss our node, we will still encounter moon in approximately the same position and in the same time. So we are executing our burn, and approximately at this point our orbital stage will run out of fuel. Boom. So let us stage and use our tiny little lander, which will unfortunately not land this time. And here we are, getting close to the moon, and we have our encounter, but we overshot a little bit, so we have to slow down a little bit. And we are on a collision course. Well, not exactly a collision, but we're going to get captured in lunar sphere of influence, SOI. So here we're time warping to the encounter. And capture. So the first thing, we're going to create a maneuver node and circularize our orbit around the moon. Again, I'll be derping around with this, trying to get the better orbit. And I'll settle up for the orbit, which is approximately 100 kilometers on 45 kilometers, something around that. So we are warping again. Looking for the maneuver node and time warp. Fortunately, it won't take too much time. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and any minute now, and any second now, and now. And I'm just trying to lower our apoapsis a little bit so that the orbit is not so ecliptical and there's more resembles the circle. And we are in the orbit, checking out the moon from approximately 50,000 meters. It's 54,000 meters. So we do our signs, generate our crew report, we use our goo container, and we let Bob to walk outside a little bit, stretch his legs, look at the moon, and have some suntan. Though it wouldn't work in vacuum, but we still call it that way. So what we're doing here is we're going to change eccentricity of our orbit so that we are orbiting the same plane as the Kerbal. Why would we do that? Is to make sure that we are able to return without much difficulty. Instead of searching one and only place where our orbit intersects with Kerbal when we are going to return, we're simply going to be able to do it practically anywhere. So here's our maneuver node, and we're time warping. And burn. And our orbit is slowly changing to the shape we want it to be. And done. Maneuver executed successfully. I just discovered a new English word. And don't even try to tell me there is no such word. It is now. There is. So we decided to do another spacewalk because apparently we were over another biome to generate more science and use our second goo container. Here I was trying to create a return maneuver to the Kerbal, but then I realized that I'm doing it wrong, or more precisely on a wrong side of the moon. So what we are doing is we create a node and we're going to burn retrograde to the movement of the moon around the Kerbal. What will happen is that our lateral speed to the Kerbin will be slower and will be captured. And we can get a very low periapsis by doing it, namely 30,000 meters, which will definitely bring us down without any further burns or course correction. Theoretically, I can stage my booster stage directly after the burn, after this maneuver, and I will still get to the planet. But I will not do it unless I'm already partially in atmosphere, just in case. So we are almost at our node. And we're there. Doing some fine direction corrections and burn. Even though our escape is actually away from the Kerbal, we are still going to get captured by its zone of influence, or sphere of influence. And as our lateral speed will be very, very slow, we will have a kinda low apoapsis. As you see, it's approximately 20,000 meters. At such angle or such altitude, we're definitely going to get into the thickest part of the atmosphere, which will air brake us sufficiently enough to actually not leave into the orbit again. We'll simply not have enough speed. And here we are approaching Kerbin. We are entering atmosphere at approximately 3.3 kilometers per second. In any normal space program or any normal reality, such maneuver will be suicidal. Because when traveling at such speeds, the craft will simply overheat and explode. But Kerbals create the spacecrafts out of more advanced materials, things that can withstand some serious overheating. Here we are traveling at practically orbital speeds through the atmosphere of the Kerbin, blazing across the sky, and also losing a lot of our velocity. So, our speed is less than 1 kilometer per second. Our altitude is 50,000 meters. We're practically home. Bill seems to have some kind of anxiety. Everything is fine, Bill. You will survive. Don't worry. Calm and soothing word always helps. Here we deploy our parachutes. And time warping to the ground. Parachutes are deployed. They are still attached to the capsule, which is good. We wouldn't want to lose our brave Kerbonaut when he's almost home. And touchdown. Let's take our Kerbonaut for a small walk. He spent so much time in this cramped space. He must have some time to stretch his legs and plant a flag, which is going to be called and back again. We're going to take some reports and a surface sample. It doesn't have any scientific value, but it will be a memo for the Bill or Bob. And our mission is success. We gathered 120 something signs due to all of our beautiful experiments. The signs which we'll later use to create a technology that will allow us to save Jebidiah from Minmus. But for now, we're going to end this episode. Thanks you all for watching. Remember to leave your likes, dislikes and comments in the section below. Share and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you all next time. Bye.